Welcome everybody to The Big Show. I'm Chris Collins. This is Papi Chulo.
Hello, hola.
And today we're going to talk about something that was polarizing on our LinkedIn profile, how to handle diagnosis with customers, and we're going to give you an update on what's coming up in the next couple months with Service Drive Revolutiooooooooooon. So pay attention, get out a pen, paper, call all your friends, gather around. We are going to deliver the best Service Drive Revolution you've ever seen.
It's gonna be hot.
So before we get to talking about diagnosis, and I have a lot to say about this because there's a lot of morons. I'm not in the mood to make friends. I'm going to call people out that are morons. So this thing, as we sit on LinkedIn, this has, 7,000 views and 60 comments or something.
It's a hot topic.
And about 59 of them are from morons. And we're going to go through, I'm going to name names. I'm going to tell you where they work.
Oh my gosh.
Because people don't read. They comment online without really reading or understanding what we're talking about. But before that, what we need to clarify with the audience is, how did you legally get your name changed from Christian Lafferty to Papi Chulo? And what does Papi Chulo mean?
Okay, so Papi Chulo is a term of endearment in the Spanish language. And
so it means handsome daddy.
Yes, handsome daddy is the direct translation. Now that might seem a little awkward when you look at the English version of that, but it's really sweet on the Spanish side. So my girlfriend calls me Papi Chulo, almost to the point, it's actually really funny. So as I've gone around and started to meet her friends and family and everything like that, they don't even know that my name's Christian. She'll be like, this is Papi Chulo. They'll be, oh, Papi Chulo. And that's essentially my name. So I'm just handsome daddy.
But how did I find out about that?
Because I was at your house watching a really good fight, by the way.
Canelo?
Yes, it was a wonderful fight. And Claudia, my girlfriend.
Nice group of people.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe a little too many people. It was on the verge.
I don't know, it still felt pretty intimate, and I loved the conversation with everybody who was there. So it was a couple of people.
Good mix of people, yes. But a little crowded.
Some people I'd never really spoken to before that I really liked.
Spoken to?
Yeah.
But you knew who they were?
I knew who they were. I just hadn't really had conversations. But
so you bring your girlfriend.
So I bring my girlfriend.
She, in true Latin form, jumps right into the kitchen and starts helping prepare food.
Yeah, it wasn't an option for her not to help.
Even being told, no, it's fine. She just who she is to jump in and help. And then at one point, somebody was talking about, was it Caesar?
It was Caesar.
Caesar, Missy's younger brother. And Missy said to your girlfriend, this is Papi Chulo. And she goes, no.
Like everything stopped at that moment for her, for sure.
Christian is Papi Chulo. There's no other Papi Chulo in the world.
It's not possible.
Which is the funniest thing because you're maybe the whitest guy besides me.
We're both fairly white, for sure.
So from now on, everybody, we are going to refer to Christian as Papi Chulo, which when you call him Papi Chulo, understand you're calling him your daddy, basically.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird.
No, nothing weird about that at all. People don't really pay attention to the bigger issue, and so they kind of ruin it for everybody, just like these morons on LinkedIn commenting on this beautiful article that we put up. Once again, I would say that we give away better free content than other people charge for.
That's right.
So this article that we posted on LinkedIn is a roadmap for you to do a couple things. One, serve the customer at a very high level. Serve the customer where they feel like you're respecting their time, you care about them, and you are there to help them and serve them. So that's number one, and maybe the most important. Number two is you get to know where the customer is at. You get to know exactly where they're at. And number 3, you protect the technician. Because the technician, believe it or not, is selling time. And if you waste the technician's time, they can't ever get it back. There isn't a time tree that they can go pick time off of a tree and get the time back. Once the time is gone, it's gone. So this helps you respect the technician's time and make them more efficient, which in return, the technician reciprocates with maybe a little bit more enthusiasm for your repair order if you're an advisor. Now, what we're writing about here is from my experience as a service advisor. This isn't the idealized version. I love it that a bunch of moron consultants who've probably never written service a day in their life comment on here and they don't know what they're talking about. This comes from actual experience in the service drive, helping customer after customer, 15, 20 customers a day, over and over and over again. It isn't some idealized thing that we just pulled out of our ass. It's actually really something that helps the whole process.
It works.
But people don't read it. People don't read it. In fact, people even say in their comments on here, I didn't actually read the whole thing.
But by golly, I've got an opinion.
On other people's stupid comments, which is just encouraging buffoonery.
Yeah.
You're not helping by commenting on a stupid comment. You're encouraging it.
I agree.
Oh, stuff drives me crazy. Okay, so what this article on LinkedIn is basically, and when was this posted? Is there a date on here? In case you want to go to our profile on LinkedIn and look at this, I don't know what the date is, but it's pretty recent. It's pretty fresh. What it is, and we talked about this on the show before, is it's not selling diagnosis, getting a repair authorization. So how this works is customer comes in and says, my car stalls, or a customer comes in and says, I smell something sweet burning, or a customer comes in and says, I have a rattle. Whatever it is, a customer has some sort of complaint that's going to require diagnosis. Also, understand that less than 10% of ROs that I've seen in recent years require diagnosis. The cars and trucks are made better than they ever have. There aren't the runnability issues there used to be. And the onboard, diagnostic system tells you that it's an O2 sensor or whatever.
Better than ever, for
most
sure.
of the time. So it isn't like when we were writing service with handwritten ROs where, 40, 50% of the cars coming in had a runnability issue, a stalling issue. You just don't see that anymore like you used to. So we are talking about a very small percentage of your customers and a very small percentage of the lines that are added to repair orders.
That's right.
But should a customer come in and say, hey, my car's stalling, or hey, I smell something sweet burning that probably is coolant, whatever it is, my AC is blowing warm, it's not blowing cold, right? When you sell diagnosis, you're wasting your time and the customer's time and the technician's time. Because let's say, this is an example of tribal knowledge in our industry, that the reason why you are doing it this way and it's done this way isn't because it makes sense. It isn't because it's the best thing for you, the tech, or the customer. It's simply because that's how we've always done it. But it makes zero sense whatsoever that I would say, so you say, my car is blowing warm air, I can't get my AC to work. And I say, okay, Christian, we're gonna charge you diagnosis. It's going to be $175. Now, what did we accomplish there?
We just agreed that I'm gonna spend $175 to find out I have to spend more money.
And now, how many more things have to happen before we actually fix the problem? Because Christian gave me what Christian wants, what he took time out of his day to bring this hunk of metal in to get fixed was he lives in California, it's hot as hell, and he wants AC. So what he wants is AC. Does he want diagnosis?
Not even a little bit.
Could care less about diagnosis. In fact, diagnosis is changing the subject. So now we've taken the customer from their biggest need psychologically. So the biggest need is, it's hot, I got a black car with black interior, and I want it to be cool. That's what he wants. To, oh, well, let's talk about something else. Let's change the subject, and let's repackage this as a problem that is another problem on top of a problem.
Right.
Now we're layering the problems and the complexity for the customer when the customer had something very, very simple that they wanted.
Yes.
Right?
I think it's the first time that the customer actually comes in, and to that point, right before they talk to somebody, they're there to get their car fixed.
The customer has it right.
Yes, the customer has it right. They're there to get their car fixed. We then tell them it's an option. The first thing you have to do is figure out exactly what it is. Yeah. Like, if we never make it an option, they're there to get their car fixed.
Yeah. So now I'm an experienced service advisor. Now, the one thing I would say, and none of these morons' comments here said this, but if somebody would have put the comment, well, you kind of have to have written service for a little while for this to work.
No doubt.
I get it. If you've only been writing service for a month, you're not going to really know how to navigate this. But if you've been writing service for a year, maybe a little less, you pretty much have already seen, especially if you're working in a dealership. An independent shop's a little different because you're working on so many different models. But let's just say you work in a Volkswagen dealership, you kind of have seen in a year patterns of what's breaking on which models, right? You have a pretty good sense. So now let's say, what kind of car do you want to have in this scenario with your AC not working?
A Mercedes-Benz E-Class.
Okay. So now I know that the worst case scenario, and I know that the E-Class, most of the time it's the evaporator. It's the pump of the evap, right?
Sounds good.
But the worst case scenario is going to probably be $2,200.
Yeah, somewhere around a quarter, $2,500.
Yeah, $2,500. So I know that because most of the time when that's the scenario, I've seen some ROs that I've written up that the technician has said it's the evap or whatever it is, and it ends up being about $2,500. So now, what we do is we say, okay, well, we need 175 to diagnose it in a normal situation, and you're doing this because of tribal knowledge and because that's just what you were taught to do, but it makes no sense. You're going to give it to the technician. What's the technician going to do?
Evac and recharge.
And then what's he going to do?
Figure out that it's an evaporator.
Okay, and then what's he going to do?
Go to parts and get a price for an evaporator.
Okay.
And then attach the labor time, give it to an advisor.
And then what's the advisor going to do?
Advisor's going to call the customer.
And where's the car now?
Car is pulled outside because we're waiting on an answer.
Right. And then they get a hold of the customer or whatever, right? And then what?
And customer says, I thought you said it was going to be $175.
Maybe. That does happen.
And then customer says, oh, geez, $2,500, that's so much. But go ahead and do it. I need my air to work.
Yeah. Okay. What else could happen right there?
They could say, no, I don't want to spend that much money. I'll take it somewhere else.
Okay. Once again, the morons that didn't read this said that's what customers do, but you're not paying attention. This protects you from that, right?
100%.
So now what I would say to Christian at time of write-up is, okay, we're going to have to check it out and figure out what it is. Worst case scenario, it's probably the evaporator. I'm going to give myself $2,500 to work with. If it's less, it'll be less. If it's more, I'll give you a call. Let me say that again. Maybe write this down.
And slowly. Say it slowly.
Christian.
Yes, Chris?
I'm going to give myself $2,500 to work with. If it's less, it'll be less. If it's more, I will give you a call. And then what do I do?
You fix my car.
Maybe. But right then in that moment, what do I do?
Well, you figure out how much I'm willing to spend. So if I say, well, I don't have $2,500. I've got a budget. I couldn't spend more than $1,000.
So what I was going to say, you're right in what you're saying, but what I was going to say is I shut up.
Oh, yeah.
So I shut up, and then you're going to tell me most of the time, and I'm telling you this We've been in thousands of dealerships, taught this to thousands of service advisors, and most of the time the service advisors come back and go, that was too easy.
Yes, like we physically both done this as service writers and coached it to service writers of our clients.
And they come back and say, that was too easy. Why didn't somebody teach me this before?
And I get it that we don't have a body of work that we've looked at.
That's a joke.
Totally a joke.
You needed the awkward segue before the joke.
Yeah.
For people to know it's a joke. Okay, so now people in the comments said, well, a lot of times customers just use us for diagnosis and they take it somewhere else. If I proposed the repair authorization and the customer said, oh, I'm just gonna have you diagnose it, I'm gonna work on it myself, or I'm gonna have my technician do it, don't you wanna know that at the time of write-up?
Yes.
Don't you wanna know that before the tech spends an extra hour because there's rat damage or something? Like, don't you want to know the customer's intentions up front? When you know the customer's intentions up front, you can better serve them, but you also can navigate the situation and save everybody time, right? So at that point, I would put on there, is going to take to their own tech, just diagnose. So then the technician knows.
Done.
Right? Okay, so most of the time the customer is going to say, okay, and they will sign for it. Now, some other moron in there said, well, in California, that won't work because you actually have to give them a detailed. You still can give them a detailed explanation once you know, but the repair authorization works in California as much as it works on Mars.
The only thing that's illegal is not giving the customer an estimate.
Yeah.
There's no rules about what the estimate has to be.
And so now I give the RO to the technician with $2,500 on it. How much more efficient is the technician going to be not pulling it in and out, just fixing it? And then here's the other thing, and I've found, especially with coolant leaks, is I get the technician $1,500. He comes back and he says it's the water pump. He replaced the water pump, and guess what else?
Something else goes bad.
Yeah. Now, if we would have called the customer and said it's the water pump, they okay the $1,500, he puts in the water pump, repressure checks it, and a hose goes. Now we got to call the customer and ask him for more money, and we appear to not know what we're doing. Or we also appear that we misdiagnosed it up front. But when you get an amount of money for the technician to actually do their job, put the water pump in, test it, put the evaporator in, test it, now we don't seem like morons because I said up front, if it's more, we will call you. I will call you. Right?
Beautiful.
I don't understand what the controversy is here. So can we go through our 22 pages of comments on this and call people out by name that don't understand what a repair authorization is? And some of these failed consultants in here. So John Frazier, whose title on there is lead servant, not servant leader. Great, John. John's all over this thing. He comments on everything, which we appreciate, John. So John, clearly, I don't know, didn't read the article, whatever. We just don't charge diagnosis. We don't talk about it at write-up. It's just a negative conversation. John, if you understood what I was trying to say, we're saying the same thing. You're just doing it in a different way and you're giving it away. And the way that I'm saying to do it is you don't have to give it away. You can give away diagnosis if you want, but you don't have to. There's a bigger idea here that if you understand it, you can avoid this altogether, right? Okay, John Buck, Automotive Service Director. I agree to an extent. The only issue I would have is if something involving AC diagnosis. That could get pricey because if they decline the repair, you'll have to pay a tech to evac. John, you didn't read the article. I'm sorry, bro, but you don't understand. This would not, what you're saying here doesn't happen if you get a repair authorization because the customer would tell you, no, I'm going to sell the car. I don't want to spend $2,000 on it. No, I'm going to take it to my own technician. No, the car isn't worth $1,500. Don't do anything. You want to know at the time of write-up what the customer's intention is so you can serve them. The customer told you, my AC doesn't work. We're assuming they want the AC fixed, so let's tell them how much it is in the worst case scenario that we've seen to fix the AC. If they get scared off, you can function and operate from there. Don't be so fragile that you can't handle a customer saying, I don't want to spend that much money. That's your job, is to advise. But your job also is to tell the truth. The worst thing for a technician in the shop is for you to get them 2 hours into a diagnosis to have a customer that never wanted to fix it to begin with. You're not being honest. Robert Sebastian, virtual fixed op training for service management, advisors, and technicians. This guy, what a consultant. If your reputation is rock solid and you stand far above your competition, customers won't care which way you do it. They arrive with almost 100% trust for your process. Diagnostic charges or no diagnostic charge, if you're average, you struggle. So, Robert, with all due respect, you're commenting on my thing, trying to promote the idea that, well, if they had your stupid training, then they would be 100% above and they would have trust. But you're not commenting on the actual article or on the thought here. So, bro, start your own threads, please. Then Dan Beakley says, while I mostly agree with this, I would personally refrain from using the phrase worst case scenario. No, Dan, you need to try this before you say that. Because when you are selling something, you need to understand one basic principle that everything, including religion, functions by. And that is that there's a heaven and a hell. And if you don't present hell, then you can't present heaven. And it's all in the juxtaposition and the contrast when you're talking about the psychology of a customer. So if you aren't willing to say worst case scenario, then you are never going to be very good at customer service or at selling anything. So Robert Stage, CEO of Lead Diagnostic Technician, Stage 1 Mobile Diagnostic and Auto Repair. So
He's
what
got diagnostic in his name of
what
his
do you
company.
what do you think that is about? So I respectfully disagree with this idea, Chris. By the way, he's a guy in a suit. So that tells you right there. I never trust a guy in a service department in a suit. Never. Screams consultant from a million miles away. So I respectfully disagree with this idea, Chris. I can certainly emphasize with the stance you shared and see a short-term benefit. I do not see this being mid to long-term solution. Robert, with all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. And once again, you're commenting on my stuff because you're trying to sell your thing and you've never written service a day in your life. Maybe your company and your product would be better if you took 6 months and went and wrote service.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So Sean Lewis from Roadster says, I've seen this work and I've also seen it fail. Always dependent upon the brand and the location of the dealership from my experience. Honda store tried for a while, did not work. They actually saw a dip in CSI. Sean, also with all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. It's from Kia to Mercedes, Land Rover. This has worked and it helps CSI, it doesn't hurt it. I don't think you read the article or you've practiced it in theory the way that we're teaching it. And then Rick Baker from Fleet Hub. Here in California, that would be illegal. Thanks, Rick, for the legal advice, but you also don't know what you're talking about. You in any state, you need to tell the customer
There's an estimate.
what they're spending their money on. So the idea that you have to detail it for the bar doesn't negate the fact that you can feel out where a customer is and give them the worst case scenario. So it's not true. Danielle Kwong, service advisor at Wyatt Johnson Ford. Couldn't agree more. Free up the shop flow, save everyone involving time and money. However, when is it appropriate to charge for no problem found?
Fair question.
I really think that's kind of, Danielle, up to your better judgment and the culture of the business. I've always had a hard time charging a customer for something that we can't find, or there have been situations like, let's say a customer comes in and they say, my headlights aren't working or something like that. And it ends up that it's just a simple fuse, or they had a stereo installed and somebody didn't plug something back in, and it's really simple. In those situations, I lean more towards writing it off to policy and investing in goodwill with the customer and being a hero over charging them, but every situation is different in the culture of your store and how you guys want to handle that. But Danielle, the one thing I do appreciate is that you actually read it.
Yeah, because she understood the advantages and the benefits for everybody. Good job, Danielle.
So then Josh here from Mo Power Tire Works says, I was at a dealer today and wanted to charge $90 because of RR brake light was out. The eyes of the customer said the whole story. Like you said, it's about the customer. We let the techs run the show and end up with bad CSI or rookie advisor run the show without proper training. So you're right, Josh. The one thing is rookie advisors probably shouldn't do this. This is a middle to advanced technique that, you know, if you haven't seen it before, you can go and ask a technician though too. Yeah. You could ask the customer like, hold on, let me go ask somebody, and then kind of get a worst case scenario. But you are correct with that. Russell Wickman says, we let the technicians run the show and end up with bad CSI. This technique protects the technicians and your CSI. So you got to understand the technique and understand that respecting the technician's time is going to create a better outcome for the customer, because we're not going to have to call them over and over again. And most situations that require extensive diagnosis like AC, coolant, runnability, just because we think it's fixed or we fixed the main concern doesn't mean that there isn't going to be something else. So it protects you from also appearing like we don't know what we're doing. Tony Perkins, Director of Fixed Operations, Evergreen Ford, Evergreen Chevrolet. I try and teach my staff to get a preliminary authorization. How much we're planning on investing to repair this concern. Most clients have a price in mind. Tony, I think that's the craziest thing I've ever heard, to ask a customer how much do they want to spend.
We should let them spin a wheel.
Yeah, it's too random, confusing, and also you lose total authority with the customer when you don't know what you're doing. So you're saying to the customer, hey, well, what do you want to spend? We don't really know. It isn't really about what's wrong with the car.
Pick a number.
It's a random thing. And I would guess, if I look at your financial statement, Tony, you are really, really high on discounts, because that breeds to discounting when you're making it a variable. You're making pricing an emotional variable thing and not a set thing that solves a solution.
Yep.
Russell Wickman, rider, technician, veteran again. Why authorization works. So how do you suggest handling the customer who comes in, gets diagnosis, and declines the repair? So Russell, if you're understanding the technique here, they would be telling you that up front, because a customer who's going to decline the repair will tell you up front, I don't want to spend $2,000 on this car, it's not worth it. Or I'm going to sell the car, or I'm going to have my own technician do it, just diagnose it. I want to know that at time of write-up. I really do. I want to save the technician that time.
The one right below it bugs me.
Which one?
Chris Welch.
Chris Welch, excellent multi-unit professional at Experience. What does that mean?
Experience multi-unit professional at Experience. I don't know.
One thing that I'm learning about this is, like, is there a market to train people how to name their LinkedIn profile? I don't know that I'm crazy about ours either, but ours says, Chris Collins, the #1 most effective fixed ops trainer and dealer coach in the world. I mean, I hate that. It's kind of braggy. What could we change it to? Chris Collins, Papi Chulo.
Crusader of Truth.
Papi Chulo.
Or Papi Chulo.
No, that's your name. I hope that's your new name on your LinkedIn, like Papi Chulo at Chris Collins Inc.
That would be funny.
So this Chris Welch, my take on it, and I must admit I didn't read all the Astros are on.
It was a World Series, I'm going to assume.
People are still watching baseball. But you can charge the diagnosis and then credit it towards the repair if the customer approves. Chris, read the thing, bro.
Yes, but that's a lie. What he's saying, that's a lie.
What we're teaching you avoids all of that. What we're saying, the headline of the article, Chris, is stop selling diagnosis to your customers. And then you're talking about how to sell diagnosis to your customers. If you just read the first line, you would know.
But again, what he's saying that thing where it's like, you can charge the diag and then credit it towards the repair. I've never seen that happen. I've only seen them add the labor time or the diag time onto the R&R. So if it's an oxygen sensor that pays an hour, they bill it out at 2 hours. There's no disappearing diag time. It's just a lie to the customer. I'd rather not have that conversation personally.
So Forrest DeMars, that's such a cool name. Forrest DeMars.
I like him.
District manager for Bumper to Bumper. He says, doctors charge money to tell you that your cold will blow over in 3 days. Drink water and rest. You don't bat an eye. But we go to a dealership with a machine that is our livelihood and expect free stuff 24/7. How does this make sense? Those bad tires literally have the potential to kill you. Now, ones cost $800, you can buy a $1,500 iPhone. Customer accountability is a thing. You can hold someone accountable and be very nice about it. I get what you're saying, Forrest, but that's not really the point of this, and I don't think you read. And if you did read it, you didn't understand, is we can have it all. We can take care of customers. We can take care of the techs. We can communicate in a very clear way. The problem that we have is tribal knowledge that the only reason people do this the wrong way is it's because that's how they've always done it, not because it makes any sense. It makes no logical sense to sell customers diagnosis. None. Okay, Jera Grabovich, Toyota Master Diagnostic Tech. I'll have to respectfully disagree. Also, I don't think we should call it diagnosis. We have an initial fee to look at the customer's concern. Many times,
fee sounds way nicer than diagnosis, right?
Yeah, Gara, I don't want to be mean to you, but
okay, I'm done.
Oh, this guy. For example, you come in with a misfire, the vehicle gets a full system scan. We verify the cylinder with the misfire and perform a relative compression test. All that is done with the initial fee. Based on the findings, a plan of attack is made. Maybe the RC showed a lower cylinder. We then perform a leak. Jera, if you, whatever, do it your way, man. Do it your way. Did you any other ones of these? Because it's
no. Because now we're getting into people that
This is where my blood pressure gets going, and I should never read these comments honestly because it just makes me want to fight.
Yeah, I think the thing that we're at this page now.
We're back to Russell again.
Well, so we got Russell, we got Perry.
I don't like to wade into conversations twice, but I'm going to.
That's his third wade.
Conversation goes like, service manager, we don't charge customers for diagnosis anymore. Tech, okay, but I spent 2 hours figuring out the intermittent CEL. Listen, we got to pay the technicians. Our model is built that the technicians have to get paid for the time, or we bill for the time that they work on cars. So the customer comes in with a problem. Let's fix their problem. Diagnosis is a thing that we've created. The customer will pay for the diagnosis and for the repair if we present it right.
Yeah.
What happens is if you don't tell the customer the truth and you're not willing to say what the worst case scenario would be, then the technician is going to get stuck with diagnostics. It's a bunch of in and out. Your average per ticket is going to be really low. And it's just inefficiencies all around. You're just moving money around.
It's bad customer service. It reminds me of this time that I went to a convenience store. And I bought something from the convenience store. I brought it home. Turns out that it didn't work. So I took it back to the convenience store. I'm like, hey, can I get a refund on this? And the convenience store clerk's like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, you won't even consider this? Wait a minute. It's in the same shape as when I got it, right? And she's like, no, I'm not giving you a refund on that. I'm like, well, no problem. That's fine. Can you at least exchange it? And she's like, no, absolutely not. And you know what I said? I said, I'll never buy another lottery ticket from this place. I was a little nervous about delivering the punch during your coffee because I saw you like.
Maybe I would spit it.
I thought it was coming at me.
That would be funny. Any more of these? Did you circle any? I wrote some things next to some of these and I can't say.
By page 10, I was out. My ADD kicked in and said, that's enough.
So a lot of technicians comment here, and I'm frankly on the technician side with this, but terrible leadership and training for the advisors is what causes the technicians to feel this way. And there's some comments about it's the reason why I've jumped around and, from technicians.
Well, I think what happens is like after page 9, the comments aren't about the article, they're about the comments to the article. So like there comes a point where
loses the main point.
Where I think that, like what you said, is I don't even know how many people read the article. So they're just commenting on people's responses. So I couldn't even tell by the 10th or 11th page if they were talking about the article or responses to people's responses to the article. So that's how you lost me.
Yeah, so I will make this point to you guys because Daniel Pryor here says he has a couple different ways of doing this, both which you're basically talking about diagnosis, Daniel, so you're not getting the point. And then Paul Dornish, I would not upsell at the counter like that. It's double dipping. I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. The point is that when you make diagnosis the theme, you're not making the theme what the customer came in for. You're changing the subject. So remember that. You're messing with the psychology of the sale and you're breaking the script when the customer already came in and said, I want this fixed. And you're like, well, before you get that fixed, let's do all this other stuff and not focus on to them what it is that fixes it. And then the last one, and I'm glad this is last, and I'm pretty sure when they printed these out, because I had to ask for this last page, right? Because it didn't print. I'm like, I know that there's another page because I could see this guy, Mason Whitaker from Subaru of Concord. Service Advisor 101, never diagnose in the service drive at check-in. Absolute horrible idea. And your point is what, Mason? What's his point?
I think he feels
Is he commenting on something else and he accidentally stumbled on ours?
No, I think that what he thinks is that with our
Mason, never eat yellow snow. How about that?
It's good advice.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that I think he thinks that the pre-authorization is actually diagnosing on the service drive, which is not true.
Once again, he didn't read it.
He didn't. I'm telling you, this topic is
crazy. There is not a test or a qualification for people commenting on stuff online. Any moron can do it.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't read the comments ever, because it drives me flipping crazy.
Keyboard warriors.
We're trying to help you. Yeah. Well, there's 6,800 and something people that didn't comment that probably somebody got something.
Somebody said, that makes sense.
I mean, for the most part, I think we're helping a lot of people, giving some goodwill. But most of these people, they want to be consultants or trainers or whatever. And so they're plugging their thing. But that's the whole strategy on here, right? Is like, oh, well, let's go comment on Chris Collins stuff. And then maybe people will be like, oh, hire me to do advisor training, or hire, buy my software. It will automate the process or whatever.
It happens on our YouTube comments every once in a while too. Same thing. It's a strategy.
Personally, I just if I was managing all this, I would just delete it, but I don't care. It doesn't.
The article's a nice gift if you want to read it.
Well, I do hope for the non-morons out there that helped. That it is a great technique with your advisors. It will increase your CSI, and it is showing respect for the technician's time and making the best use of it. When the technician's pulling the car, truck in and out, it's one trip to parts, it's one trip in, they can fix it, they can repressurize the system, re-diagnose it, and we're good to go. So it's going to increase the efficiency in the shop, the morale with the techs, the CSI with the customer, and you're gonna know what you have.
Yep. My favorite thing is the look on the tech's face. When they bring you the repair order, you look at it, you see it's well within the budget that you had already got authorization for. You hand the ticket back to the tech and say, okay, go ahead. And they look at you like, what? And then they just go back and they fix the car. And it's the most efficient they'll be that day. It's so fun to see the look on the tech's face when you give them the okay right away.
It's good stuff. Okay, so now a little announcement. If you made it this far in the show, a lot of people probably have bailed now listening to me yell. We're going to take a little hiatus.
Have her break.
We might come back for Christmas for an ugly sweater episode, just because we want to.
We had some good ugly sweaters last year.
But beyond that, we're going to go on hiatus until the beginning of the year. So keep checking, and we'll have some sort of Christmas thing, but beyond that, we're gonna be working on some new content and retooling some things. So we're gonna take a little hiatus. We might even move the office a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited about the prospect of that.
Yeah.
There could be some good things for viewers and listeners.
But thank you guys so much. Hope that you have a good holiday season, Thanksgiving and all that, and we will see you again real soon on
Service Drive Revolution! Too loud?
That was good.
Thanks.
See you guys. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.